Hello, everyone. Kerry Minden with CJM Realty here. Back with my awesome friend Andrew Paul, who's a VA mortgage specialist down in San Diego. He also happens to be, and his passion for working with the VA, veterans in general, comes from he's a former Navy SEAL as well. And we all appreciate your service. I know that's a very highly competitive and tough part of the military to come from. But today I wanted to go over with Andrew, what are some of the top suggestions in today's marketplace as it's changing for someone with a VA loan to get their offer accepted by the seller?
Yeah, Carrie's great question. And first of all, I would start off by saying that, the last couple of years, the market's been so competitive.
Right.
And in some ways it's been tough. It's been tough to get an offer accepted no matter what kind of loan you're using. It's just been 15, 20 offers, bidding 20, 30, 50,000 above asking. I mean, we joked, in naming rights to my firstborn son, or listed as a beneficiary on my life insurance policy, whatever, right? That has shifted now. But either way, if you want to put your best foot forward and be able to take advantage of the market to get your offer accepted, one of the best things I can tell you is to make sure that you get fully pre-approved. And so understanding this difference between getting fully pre-approved versus what I would call a pre-qualification. And the confusion there is that loan officers and lenders commingle those terms all the time. Right. So what most big banks do is they do a pre-qualification. And a lot of loan officers do too. And that's a much simpler, streamlined process that leaves a lot to chance. So for example, you may have a conversation, they'll probably pull your credit so they know what your scores are and what your debts are, but they don't actually go verify anything. So they might ask you how much you make or how long you've been at your job, and they kind of calculate, well, this is what you'd probably qualify. That's what a pre-qualification means. But they give you a piece of paper and you kind of think, oh, great, I can go buy a house. But it isn't until weeks later that an underwriter actually looks at everything and then starts to have a bunch of questions. And then that's why a lot of deals fall out. When you get pre-approved, you provide all the paperwork up front. And we look at everything. My underwriter looks at everything. And we've pre-approved you. The only thing we need at that point is an actual property. You got to appraise that property. We get the title work. And that's it. We're gonna go to closing. So the big difference is certainty. That's the word I would use, is certainty. When you get pre-approved, you have certainty as a buyer. More importantly, to your question, Kerry, you can give certainty to a seller. Think about, what is a seller looking for when they're looking at the offers that are put in front of them? Well, I would argue that the number one, the number one thing a seller wants, right, is they want to get as much money as they can, right? I mean, they want give. But in that, as they're looking at these different offer prices, et cetera, they're also asking themselves, does this buyer have the ability to actually close the deal? And that comes back to what we just talked about, being actually pre-approved. You could offer $5,000 more than somebody else, but the seller, if they don't believe that you're working with a company that can perform, or that you actually are qualified and approved to make this purchase, who cares what you offer if it doesn't ever actually close, right? So yes, the seller wants to net the most amount of money, but they're also looking for that certainty. And when you get pre-approved with a lender who's done a full pre-approval, you've got certainty. You can give certainty to that seller, and that to me is worth your weight in gold. That's how you get your offer accepted. After that, there's a few tactics as well we can employ.
One of the jokes I use with my buyers when I send them off to a lender to prepare them, especially if they haven't gotten a loan in a decade. 20 years ago, when I entered the real estate business, I'd tell the potential borrowers, they're going to look at in your underwear drawer, so be prepared. And now I tell them, they're going to look in your underwear drawer, they're going to pull it out. They're going to look at your underwear.
I don't know what lenders you're
working with. Where did the hole come from? Oh my God, there's a stain. Where did the stain come from? How did it get there?
And what did you eat for dinner last night?
Man. So you better be prepared. It's not the lender's fault. This is anyone you will go to. They're going to look, they're going to pull it out, and they're gonna, hopefully they don't smell too closely. No, I'm just,
I will tell you,
with my
Karen, I'm
teenage
not
kid,
sure
don't.
what lenders you're working with. I'm not going through anybody's underwear drawer. Now, we are going to look very closely at your finances. I'm staying out of the underwear. But,
Right.
but look, to your point, every so often I'll be talking to somebody and they'll say like, well, the last time I got a loan, I didn't have to do all this. And I go, and I'm
Correct, you
like,
didn't.
and how did that go? How did that go? Maybe it worked out. When was the last time you got a loan? Oh, it was, 15 years ago. Well, yeah, I go, back then, stated income loans, or they just,
Yeah.
log a mirror, you got a mortgage, Um, and I will tell people, I said, listen, this full pre-approval that we do up front, it's a little bit extra work for you to do up front. It is. Let me tell you something. It's a lot of extra work up front for me and my team. But
And a
that's
lot of
how we
extra
do
risk
this.
for your time.
For sure.
Mm,
But I wouldn't do it any other way, Carrie, because my reputation is on the line. When I tell somebody they can
yeah.
go out and start writing offers on a home, I want them to know they're getting that house. Unless there's something wrong with the house after an inspection, they don't want it, whatever. But it won't be because we have not looked at everything from a financial perspective and that they can actually buy this thing,
Right. I'd say another thing that's very important, and you can hear from Andrew, those of you that are listening, Andrew's been around the block a few times when it comes to finances. And also, not to toot either of our horns, but hey, we are who we are, is we're both high volume. So we do a lot of business. My joke with my lovely wife sometimes is I did a year's worth of business for the average realtor this week.
Okay.
So the sheer ability to do volume means that I've dealt with over my career a number of VA on both sides. I know how to, Andrew knows how to prepare and package your loan to get successfully accepted. Andrew could talk to the listing agent if you're the buyer, and he can tell the listing agent why he can successfully close that deal. He can provide that security. When you're hunting on the realtor side, like for me, experience matters. What was the statistic that was getting floated around? I think the head of REMAX said here a few months ago, 80% of real estate agents have not been in a market other than up. So I've been in, this is my third down market, by the way, or sideways. So, I've got experience dealing with it. This isn't your first sideways or down market. That it changes how business is done. We got to tighten it up. So what 90% of mortgage guys and gals have only been in refinance boom. So, we're the top 10 and 20%, even if we weren't higher than that because of other things. But, I think that as you hunt, experience matters. And that's what I hear from you is you're just, you're generating to me as a realtor, by the way, I just hear these things of which only experience gives you. I've dealt with the other mortgage people, jokingly, the one that goes, right? To not mention names and get sued, right. But they do those pre-qualifications where you're spending 10 minutes on entering your data into a form, and poof, you get a sexy letter emailed to you right then. Nothing's verified, and we get to closing, and 2 days before we're supposed to be signing paperwork, so a little bit more work with a highly competent person like Andrew and his team can save you so much headache at the other end. So that's one way. On the realtor side, a way to get your offer approved is, in all seriousness, you got to have an old-fashioned agent. And it doesn't mean that they're old. They can be young and be this way, where they're willing to pick up the phone and talk to the other agent and not just leave it to text. I have one in the hottest market ever. So in 2021, the end of 2021, I won a deal for a VA client because I requested I had requested 2 other agents, listing agents, and they couldn't ever respond to a voicemail. They just would text. So
Yeah.
if you're selling, pick your agent too. But anyway, don't get me started. But the listing agent allowed me to go talk to the seller in person with the VA information. I was able to pick up the phone and talk to my VA loan person, and we were able to get a deal put together for that VA client that was less than the highest offer. So sometimes you got to have people in your corner that are prepared to go the extra mile. And as a veteran, so my experience as a veteran dude, I was a cop for 2 years. That's not even near the level of military service, especially in the SEAL level. But unfortunately, there's a lack of trust of people that comes with the field. And working with someone you trust to go that extra mile for you, to get your back, have your 6, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the big things to me.
Kerry, that somebody pointed out in this shifting market right now, like you've got to work with a pro, whether it's on the real estate or the mortgage side. You need somebody who's going to, like you said, is going to go to work for you, that can actually, walk down the street or look at the specifics and go.
Might have been there before.
That's right. It's more now than ever. It's a professionals market that requires skills and experience to lead a client through what could otherwise be a challenging transaction. So I actually like this market because you get all the people who just jump into the business when it's quick, easy money, have no idea what they're doing, and the public can't really tell the difference between, so those people are slowly leaving the business, hopefully. But it really is a market that requires experience and skills of someone who is dedicated to their craft and serving their clients more than ever right now.
I just spent 3 months in a group with some of our friends from our coaching and whatnot we do. And it was listening to a hostage negotiator, Chris Voss.
Yeah.
Never split the difference. His real estate book just came out. I want to get it. I told my wife that'd be a great Christmas present. But learning how to negotiate on the behalf of my clients at a higher level. And there's a lot of realtors and lenders that just don't bother to go that extra step to be passionate and dedicated to their clients. And having met Andrew and dealt with him multiple times, you find that passion and search for excellence to go down and work for you. So I think that's almost the biggest thing on getting a VA offer accepted, is to be picking your team. If you're in an ordinary market where it is a true buyer's market, which it isn't right now, it's not the seller's market that it was, but still not a buyer's market, at least here. I don't know how it is in San Diego specifically, but that around the edge skill at negotiating and getting all the I's dotted and T's crossed is huge. And there's no excuse. We're not rushingly busy as we were this time last year, at least for me. And this time last year, I didn't have a Christmas. I was working.
Yeah. I
was in Disneyland with the family, and they were in looking at the thing at Epcot Center, and I was closing a deal Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
So, it's, to me, it's in some ways a better market because I'm not doing that this year. But I do have time to figure out my clients more. So people aren't taking the time now, maybe you should find someone else.
Right.
Do you have any other thoughts or tips? I know I took that, but for getting an offer accepted in today's market?
Today's market, in any market, we kind of touched on it, but also, I offer this to all of my clients and real estate agents I work with. You'd be surprised at how few people take me up on it. But I call listing agents on behalf of my buyers. So you write an offer, it goes in, I get the name and number of the agent representing the seller, and I call that agent and say, hey, I just, this is Andrew Paul, Benchmark Mortgage, VA loan, specialist. I'm want to call and go over the offer, with my clients, the Smiths. Want to make sure you got it. See if you had any questions. And they're like, oh yeah, no questions. Like, all right, well, I know it's a VA offer. Sometimes people have questions or concerns about it. And just so I'm a veteran. 95% of all I do is VA loans. And, we have a full pre-approval. I've got every bit of paperwork on this client. We can close very quickly. So, I just don't want you to have any concerns. Or if you did have questions, just want to make myself available. And then boom, out of the shell they come. Oh, you do a lot of VA? Yeah. Oh, well, can I ask you a question about, and by the time I'm done with the conversation with this listing agent, what do they know? They know that this isn't just another offer in the stack of offers. This is a buyer who's approved. They can consummate this deal, and they're working with somebody who knows what the heck they're talking about. So just a huge advantage. It doesn't mean that the seller's gonna go with that offer, but man, I mean, all else being equal, that's a big difference maker. And you're not going to get that from a big bank. They just don't have the capacity or the experience or the capability to make that call on your behalf. But when you work with a specialist, someone like me, that's the kind of advantage we can give to our clients.
That as a high level agent, that's actually has made a difference both on my buyer side and on my listing side.
Yeah, when you've gotten those phone calls, you're like, oh, okay. Because now also as a listing agent, you've got questions. You want to make sure the deal's on track. And, you're either working with the big bank where you can't get a hold of anybody, or you're like, oh, this guy actually called me proactively. So if something's going sideways or if I've got some questions, there's a real person I can get a hold of that we can collaborate and work through some challenges that might come up. And we can work through these things together to get this deal across the finish line. I mean, that's a big difference for a seller and an agent in a transaction. So.
And one of the things too, I find as an agent so it's getting your offer accepted on the buying side, is attempting to identify who the seller is. If the seller, I will look up for my buyers. It's just a quick lookup. I can tell if it's a VA loan, often in the public records. Sometimes you can. It depends on the county. So the more rural counties, you can't tell. But but that's a clue for how you can present to the listing agent, if you're on the buyer side. And on the seller side, it's maybe 1 out of 20 or 30 lenders that are willing to make a phone call on your behalf. Andrew is, by the way. So that's, again, he's top for other things. He's top for that as well. But because while I don't make the final decision on who the seller accepts at all, that opinion that I present to the seller, hey, here's this person at $1 million, just for a round number. They, they're this, and this. Here's this person at 950. It's an agent I know and trust. The lender called me and went over, here's what the lender told me about the client. Well, what did the lender tell you about the $1 million? Well, they just, nothing. I just got this letter I have from no name national mortgage company that's on TV all the time.
Right.
That shoots.
Can you get a hold of anybody? Is the appraisal in order? Like, how do we work? Yeah, it's tough. And obviously they do a lot of business, but when you're competing, you want to make sure you've got every advantage. And that's really
11% of their business was purchased, by the way. That's why they're this one national company that shoots to the sky is laying off thousands of people right now. But anyway,
it's unfortunate for those people, but
it makes sense. So I guess that's my summary of, and it seems like yours too, is that work with someone skilled, someone passionate, someone, let's jump in the trench. My grandpa who retired, or my step grandpa, he retired a rear admiral in the Navy. He stayed in after World War II, and he was always like, we don't have foxholes in the Navy. You want someone that's willing to jump down into the trench. They're willing to jump into the water with you, and they thought enough of you to bring an extra life vest along. working with someone skilled and passionate's a huge thing. You know, who's packing your parachute.
There you go. Yeah.
So that's awesome. Well, everyone, Andrew Paul's a marvelous, almost nationwide, 42 states, bud, mortgage lender. His link's going to be back down here. There's no one better for VA loans. I'm here up in the greater Portland, Vancouver, Washington, Oregon metro area. And if you don't have someone you're connected with, Andrew's someone I refer to for VA loans. If you don't know a real estate agent where you're at, we can hook you up. So, there's no excuses to not have someone in your corner and passionate that will drive down and get it through. So that's my 2 cents worth. And I appreciate your time here today, Andrew.
Thanks for having me, Kerry. Great to catch up and go over this stuff with you. I love doing this, and most importantly, I love just helping my veterans get into home, man. And just it's a huge benefit to be able to use that VA loan and build their real estate portfolio. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Talk to you soon.